Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. In today's episode, we have brought back Brandon Hollern from Church of the Nativity, and we're bringing in Kelly Cambiardi for the first time. And we are so excited to talk to you about Christmas connections. We know that Christmas Eve is the time when we get more visitors than ever. We want to be able to help connect the dots and get the contact information between those that are visiting us so that we can invite them back to join our parish and get involved. Tune in to hear the different ways that Kelly and Brandon work together to get that contact information. And I gotta tell you, some of their ways are fun and unexpected. And then what they do with that information to connect with those who have visited and how they bring them back to the parish. Thank you so much for joining us on the Rebuilt Parish podcast today. Please let everybody know just a little bit about you and what you do at Church of the Nativity.
So I'm Kelly. I am an executive administrative assistant here, and I help the strategic leadership team. So Father White, Tom Corcoran, Brandon, Tracy, Daniel, and Susan. So I'm kind of more behind the scenes during the week, making sure everything runs smoothly.
We know that behind the scenes in a parish is so important. So we're excited that we've got you here to help kind of peel back the curtain on how some of that works.
Sure, I'm happy to be here.
My name's Brandon. I'm the Director of Finance and Technology at Nativity, been on staff for 10 years. And I, just like Kelly, I'm a behind the scenes guy. I like to tell parishioners, they're like, I've never seen you around church. I said, if you see me, then there is a problem that I'm trying to fix. That's how behind the scenes I want to be.
But Brandon, if it weren't for you, so much wouldn't happen. So we are so grateful that we have you, not just at Nativity, but at Rebuilt too, because you're also on staff for Rebuilt as well.
Happy to be here.
Well, we know that Christmas and Advent are times when so many people come to church who maybe they don't normally come. How do you capture that information? How do you get their contact information? And why is this such a crucial step in turning some of these guests into engaged parishioners?
That's a great question. We have a lot of different arrows in the quiver for getting contact information. If you've watched Nativity online or have attended Nativity in person, you've likely heard us at the end of Mass when we're doing the announcements segment that we'll ask you to text the word welcome to our short code, which is 88877. We'll give you a free gift. But that's really only one of the ways that we found is effective at getting newcomers to give us their contact information. We also like to give things away. PDF resources are a big one for us. We just had one in the last few weeks where we have hundreds of people reach out through the texting system to give us their contact information. And then we also have, in specific circumstances like Christmas and Easter, we'll also have a trivia game or guess how many balloons are in a balloon display. Or last year at Christmas, we had just a simple one question on a QR code. You put in your information and then just guess how many Christmas trees were at the Cow Palace. It's a big venue for us. Thousands and thousands of people are in attendance, and there's trees everywhere. So just a simple thing of just guess how many trees are in there, and if you are the winner, we'll send you a gift. Just simple things like that. So there's a lot of different ways that we've found have been effective at getting contact information.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I love the idea of making it low-hanging fruit, right? Like just text us what you think this is. And then it also kind of gives them something to do while they're waiting for Mass to start as well on Christmas Eve.
Exactly. So at a typical Mass, you might only be sitting in the pew waiting for Mass to start for a few minutes. But for Christmas and Easter, you're likely sitting there a while. So that's helpful.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Once we have that information, what do we do with it? How do we start nurturing that relationship?
Sure.
Great question. So we reach out via email or text. It kind of matters how they first communicate with us. So if they text in, I will text them back through one of our programs we use called Growth Method. If they stop by our Welcome Center, or if they're watching us online, they'll contact us through a form, and I'll get their information and then I'll email them back that way. But the initial text is automated. But the initial email does come from me directly shortly after the weekend.
Wow. I love that you've got a whole process for this. Now, since our focus is that Advent Christmas season right now, let's talk specifically about that follow-up process for after Christmas, because we know we get so many guests that come in at Christmas time. Do you have some sort of specific time for reaching out? And what are those main channels that you use to reach out to some of these guests?
Sure. So last year at Christmas, we did schedule an automated text on Christmas Day at 5 p.m. We found it was great to reach them right away while they're still engaged with us. And we tried to ask them a question to get them to respond. We were really trying to acquire their contact information, email, phone number, address, so we can, plug them into our system and connect further with them. So we will do that through email or text. We kind of stay away from phone calls. We just feel like those two methods have been beneficial and worthwhile for us.
Wow. What sort of responses have you gotten from those?
Kind of all across the board. I mean, some people, they may not engage, and that's okay. But a lot of people do, respond back, and they're curious how they can get further connected with Nativity. They'll want to join the parish. They may want to serve with our mission partners, join a small group, receive our daily devotional, which is called our daily practice. So there's all sorts of things they can get involved in. And I try to, my best to give them links to each of those things so they can kind of dive deeper depending on their interests.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So they're responding and you're able to connect them with what they're looking for. So tell us a little bit more about this process. So you text them on Christmas, then what happens after that?
Sure. So then they'll also receive an email in January inviting them to our new series. Last year, our new series was Rebuilt Faith. So we invited them to come back to that. But really, whatever your series is, it's a great way to connect to them, after the holidays when the craziness has died down a little bit, but they still are kind of riding that Christmas high, and they are interested in seeing what else Nativity has to offer.
Oh, that's so good. So we know that our ultimate goal here, why we're putting so much time and effort into this, is to move these guests from just being visitors who maybe only sometimes come to being engaged parishioners. What are some of the strategies or programs that you use to guide people from that first visit towards growing deeper with the parish?
Sure. So in addition to the welcome email, which I've talked about, where kind of introduce myself and invite them, to various things, small groups, missions, joining the parish. We also like to send them a gift card. So we try to find out where they are located. If they don't live near us, that's great. We can send them a Chick-fil-A gift card and just kind of invite them to share in our tradition of fellowship from wherever they live. If they are local, we love to send them a gift card to our Vision Cafe along with a handwritten note that I'll write to them, just thanking them for visiting us and then asking them to come on back, attend another one of our services, and then, grab coffee or donut in our cafe afterwards and just really participate in that fellowship that Nativity really believes in. And I just think that's a great a great way to get people to come back, but kind of by giving them something as opposed to asking them for something.
That's so good. Now, first of all, I'm just thinking, whoa, I love this because if they're a guest and they maybe live out of town, the fact that you send them a Chick-fil-A gift card, that's just really sweet because everybody loves Chick-fil-A, right? And they can come back via live stream and become an online parishioner, which is incredible. But then also, I love this idea of inviting them back and giving them that gift card to the Vision Cafe where they'll get the opportunity to connect with some other parishioners too and just see what an engaged community you have there. That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the key in all of this is trying to turn a first-time visitor into a second-time visitor and a second-time visitor into a third-time visitor and getting them progressively more plugged in. And so in addition to that, we also are sending some communication through email to them over the first 90 days that they're in our system. And those are, in addition to what Kelly's doing, that's also inviting them to specific things happening in the parish in the month ahead. And so we're very careful to not overwhelm and send too much communication all at once. But we do think it's important to try to bridge that gap from the first to the second visit and the second visit to being a regular.
Oh, that's so good. What are some of those things you tell them about or invite them to?
Sure. So the emails, we try to do topical emails, 3 within 90 days, which averages about once a month. Examples include Access Point, which is where they can join our parish. They can watch a video online. Something related to what's happening in the parish that specific month. For instance, we usually have a young adult event once a month. So if they fall within that age range, they could join that. We recently had a parent event at a brewery nearby. So we could, invite them to events like that. And then we also have a lot of serving opportunities throughout the year, such as First Fruits Farm, whichever age range they fall in, they can serve with our parishioners. And, it's just another way to get connected as well.
We also acknowledge that the person receiving the email likely has family. And so even if they're not a young adult, that we kind of phrase the wording of the email. It's like, if you or someone falls into that range, this would be a great opportunity. And same with the parent event. And then small groups are kind of evergreen, right? We're always plugging people into small groups. So that's another big one that we do.
Oh, that's so good. I love that you do that. So this is a way that you welcome them without overwhelming them. You've got this system in place. So let me just see if I can go back and make sure we've got everything. So you send them that first text. If they're coming at Christmas Eve, they're getting that text the next day. They're going to get 3 emails within the first 90 days. So that's roughly every 30 days, inviting them to some specific events, letting them know about small groups. And we're just not overwhelming them, right?
Correct.
That's right. I would say that the Christmas last year, I would say we were pretty effective at having a plan to drive people into small groups. The end goal was for us to get our newcomers into small groups. So we had a invest and invite campaign during Advent, invite your unchurched family and friends or somebody that doesn't have a church to join us at the fairgrounds for Christmas Eve. It'll be a great event. We promise we won't screw it up. So invite them. And then giving an opportunity for those people to be known and to get into our system. And then all of our communication was directing them towards the small group launch that was happening at the end of January, beginning of February for Rebuilt Faith. And we were going through the book as a parish. You can get plugged into a small group. We'll give you the book if you join a small group. So that was our plan going into Christmas last year.
That is incredible. So Brandon, and I know you are the numbers guy. I know you've got some data for us here. So maybe you can walk us through some of those key statistics or trends you've seen when it comes to capturing that data and following up with them through Advent and Christmas.
Sure. So I'll be the first to admit that we are kind of doing a different thing each year, and sometimes it's really effective, sometimes it's less effective. We're figuring this out just like everybody else is. But in Christmas of 22, I would say was a very successful campaign to get people to reach out, give their contact information, and then our follow-up plan. So in 22, during our Christmas Eve Mass, we we had a little bit of a game to play while you were waiting for Mass to start. And it was a silly game. It's just like, would you rather drink eggnog or eat Christmas cookies? Or would you rather wear a Santa hat or an ugly Christmas sweater? I mean, it's just A, B, right? And we asked our parishioners and guests to text the word game to 88877 to get started, and then answer those. And then we were able to, through our software, we were able to live present those results on the screen live. So it was a really cool thing for people to see. And you could see the percentages moving in real time as people were answering. We had 681 people respond to that game on Christmas Eve, and 120 of those people were brand new in our system. And then the follow-up beyond that was trying to get people plugged in various levels. And we do find that, there are Christmas and Easter Catholics. We know that they're coming just on Christmas and Easter, and they're not going to engage beyond. But we did see through January and February, we did see an uptick in first-time and second-time visitors. We sent the gift cards. We can track when those gift cards are given in our cafe, so we know that they are coming. And then our small group program, some of those 120 were getting plugged into small groups. So the system does work. It's not like a foolproof system, of course, but we're trying to provide on-ramps and opportunities no matter where you are, right? So if you're not into small groups, but you might be interested in joining the parish or coming to one of our events or serving with one of our mission partners, we give those opportunities.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So first, Brandon, I love how you acknowledge that, look, we don't have everything figured out. We try new things every year. That's important because we don't want things to get stagnant. That's huge right there, to be trying different things. I love that.
Yeah, I think the point is to do something, to make moves in that direction and acknowledge that, hey, we're going to give it a shot. We're going to evaluate, and we may change it next year, or we may do something similar. But back to our first, how we were responding first to how do we get contact information, we have found that, yes, there are some people who will raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm new. I'm personally never going to do that in a new setting. I'm never going to identify as new ever. But if there's a game, or if there's a PDF resource, or if there's another thing that I can be involved in, I would be much more likely to reach out and give you my contact information.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I think it's fun too that you find different interactive ways to do it, and a way to meet people where they're at. Because you're right, there are certain people, my husband, for example, would never ever raise his hand and say, yeah, I'm new. He would rather just sit quietly. But if there was a game and I could just see our kids saying, hey, Dad, put it in, let's play the game. More likely to engage in that. And then that's right. How you get that information. That's so much fun. And 120 people, that's not chump change. That's a lot of people to get their contact info.
It was great. It was great for us. Absolutely.
That is incredible. Now, you've been doing this for a while. So talk to us about maybe some of those challenges you've encountered when trying to get this guest information, and how do you connect with them during this busy season? And maybe how have you overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, great questions. I'll say again, we're acknowledging we don't have it all figured out. We're learning, and each year we're trying something new, and getting beyond the just identify as new and text welcome. That's really the biggest challenge for us, is finding new ways for people to reach out. What are some new ideas that we have that would make it engaging for newcomers to want to identify? And that's why we're using games and PDF resources. PDF resources are a really low barrier to entry. You can create a quick PDF resource, throw it up on a form that sends an email after they fill out a form, and we'll just say, we're going to email you this resource, and it's tied to the message. It's tied to the homily for this week. We've had a lot of success there, but those are continual challenges of trying to keep it fresh for us.
That's so cool. Well, I was going to ask, how do you know that people are coming back in January? But you kind of answered that with, we know those gift cards are being redeemed in the cafe. We can see that.
Yeah, exactly. So we have So our system can track in various ways. The cafe is one system where we can see that, hey, this gift card was sent out in December and it came back. Not that we're identifying it to a specific person, but that is helpful to know statistically of how many are being used on a given week. And then in addition to that, our system does track event registrations and kids check-in. That's a big one for us. If you have kids, you're new at Christmas, and then you start checking your kids into our All-Stars program, which is for our nursery-aged kids, we can see that. So we are able to see growth and progress in newcomers through January and February, and that is our peak season. You know, we see more newcomers coming in January and February than any other time during the year, including Lent. We cannot draw a direct correlation that it had to be Christmas, but it would be hard to set that aside, as that certainly is a factor for us.
Right. That's incredible. Well, as we close out, what advice would you give to parishes out there who want to improve how they can connect with people who are coming in for Christmas Eve as guests, and how can we help them become engaged members of the parish?
Sure. So I think making a plan is really important, knowing what you're going to do ahead of time, being organized, and then also just making it fun and different, like the QR codes to a game, trivia. I mean, everyone loves a fun game, especially when you're just sitting, in the pews, kind of waiting for things to get started. And then also make a follow-up plan that isn't too much too soon, but just to kind of follow up with them afterwards. Know that this is not just a one and done thing trying to get them engaged on Christmas. You really want to be able to follow up with them in January and February, when they're most likely to come back anyways. So you kind of want to seize the moment when you have it.
Amazing. Well, Brandon, Kelly, thank you both so much for joining us today. We're so grateful that our community got the opportunity to learn from you, and I can't wait to hear success stories from these parishes who try and implement some of these strategies that you shared today.